Shana Tova, friends. 6 weeks ago, I lay voluntarily on a gurney, double masked, eyes closed, squeezing a small stress ball to encourage my little veins to fulfill my pledged donation to the American Red Cross. I had signed up to give 1 pint of O positive. It seemed such a small thing, this little bitty bag of blood. But on that table, and in the long minutes afterwards, when they ask you to stay for a good few minutes to be sure you yourself are okay to head home, I let myself, for just a moment, feel the power in that little gift. And for just a moment, I allowed myself to be awed by it. I still kept thinking, I should have given more than a pint. I should come back tomorrow and give again. But as everyone who's ever given blood knows, you can't. It's not healthy to give more than a pint at a time. Your body needs time to replenish, to rest for a few weeks before giving again. And the soul needs to know that for now, just for now, that pint of blood might be enough to save a life. And for the moment, that is world enough. I realized that I hadn't given blood in a long time when a dear friend mentioned in passing that she'd been giving regularly since the start of the pandemic. It was one small way she could help with the healing that the world needs so desperately. And it was an act of quite literally going right to the heart of it. And she also said that she truly felt that she received far more than she gave, especially since the receiver of the blood that she donated would never know who had given it and could, in absolutely all likelihood, never reciprocate. A true chesed shel emet, a true act of kindness, is one that's given with no hope or desire of ever receiving back. And still, she and I wondered together, is it enough? I've been hearing that refrain a lot lately. People saying they want so much to do something, anything, to ease the burden of this hurting world. Our extraordinary technology brings quite literally the world into the palm of our hands more than 24/7. And so the awareness of the need of the world and the hurt of the world is so present. And it can feel like an enormous, insurmountable burden. But our task on Rosh Hashanah is to see the opportunities. I dare say this question has likely been on quite a few people's minds in our Jewish sphere. And it may even be tempting or feel right somehow, justified or appropriate to come to the high holy days, these second Yamim Noraim under the cloud of COVID-19, in a spirit of sadness and despair, with the list of the world's problems and our own individual pains and sorrows, likely more than many of us can bear, and certainly longer than could ever be listed in this or any other Rosh Hashanah Drash. So I'm not going to make that list. You each have your own, and you each know the very real challenges that we as Jews and human beings as a collective family face. But in that spirit, I want to invite you to come back with me in time to a Rosh Hashanah of yore. By the biblical account, this was 2,465 years ago. Now, for this turning back of the clock, we need no suspension of belief, no labyrinthine rabbit hole of exegetical rabbinic commentary, no need to be clever or innovative. This account is right on the surface of our scriptural tradition, but it might have escaped our notice. This was a revolutionary gathering, and I dare to say that it may tell us all we need to know about how to be on this day of Rosh Hashanah in our own utterly astonishing moment in human history. Now, before we look at it, I just want to point out again that Rosh Hashanah is hardly mentioned in the entire Bible. There is a very scant mention in the book of Leviticus that this first day of the 7th month of the year is the day of remembrance and the blowing of trumpets. Although that phrase alone, Yom Zichron Trua, is very difficult to translate. Some kind of day of reminding ourselves with blowing of trumpets. The words Rosh Hashanah are used actually in the Bible only once, in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 40, where he refers to the season of the head of the year, the season of Rosh Hashanah, and then goes on to specifically name Yom Kippur as the start of a jubilee. And that's about it, except when we get to the book of Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, from which a number of our still extant practices come. There we read some very special verses. In the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 3, and chapter 8, verses 9 through 12, we meet up with Ezra and Nehemiah, the religious and civic governors of the ancient land of Israel in the year 444, or thereabouts, before the Common Era. Jerusalem's infrastructure was crumbling. Religious life and adherence to the Mosaic practices were at almost nil. And Ezra and Nehemiah were charged, given permission by the kings of Persia, considered very benevolent and tolerant in the annals of history, to go and pull together the fragmented people that remained in the land of Israel. We might not fully agree with the tactics and ideas that they had, but there is no doubt among scholars and students of this tradition across all denominations that what Ezra and Nehemiah did was revolutionary. They gathered the people together on the first day of the 7th month. It was Rosh Hashanah. And they brought out a book of the scroll, some version of what would become our 5 books of Moses, somewhere along the way, likely the book of Deuteronomy, but the jury is still out on that a little. They brought a book of the law. And all the people listened attentively to the book of the law. Then Nehemiah, the governor, Ezra, the priest and scribe and teacher of the law, and the Levites who were instructing the people, said to them all, "This day is holy to Adonai your God. Do not mourn or weep." For all the people had been weeping as they listened to the word of the law. And Nehemiah said, "Go, enjoy delicious foods and sweet drinks, and send some to those for whom things are not right. Go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks, but send some to those for whom things are not quite right. This day is holy to God. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Creator is your strength. And the Levites calmed the people, going out among them and saying, "Be still, shh, for this is a holy day. Do not be sad." And then all of the people went away to eat and to drink and to send portions of food and to celebrate with great joy, because they now understood the words that had been made known to them. Go and be joyful and send little portions to those for whom things are, in the Hebrew, lo nachon, not correct, not prepared, not right. The word nachon is an extraordinary word. I first met it as a child at the Hebrew Academy of San Francisco with a rather rigorous Hebrew curriculum. And the word you wanted to hear as much as almost any other was nachon, correct. We lived in a little bit of dread of lo nachon, not correct. Nachon is related to the word for prepared or setting an intention, direction, a sense of being on the right path. When we were lo nachon, we were not on the right path. And in this extraordinary teaching, this description of this Rosh Hashanah from so long ago, we hear in the Hebrew words that will sound familiar to anyone who has participated in Purim, u'leshalach manot. Ezra and Nehemiah told the people to quite literally package up shalach manos, mishloach manot, to send little portions of food or other sustenance to those for whom things were lo nachon, not prepared, not quite right. It was, I dare say, as simple as that. Rosh Hashanah, despite so many reasons and good reasons to the contrary, is not a day for weeping. It's to be a day of rejoicing. For if we are physically here to experience, then that is cause enough for rejoicing. And yet, in a quintessentially Jewish frame of mind, we are bidden by the planners and teachers at the first and maybe greatest Rosh Hashanah service ever to taste with relish, or any other condiment you like, of the gifts of the Creator. To quite literally eat and drink and be joyful and help someone who's missing something. There are so many places to set things aright in this world. Each of you will have your own soul curriculum, your own list of to-dos, list of things to which you can say, nachon, I need to correct this. It may be involvement with yourself. It may be a close relationship or one that withered long ago that could still be repaired. It might be in relationship to a job. It might be something financial. It might be something that's been on your to-do list that is now time to do. It might be a relationship with the planet, with your Jewish self, with your Jewish community, with a cause of any kind that is beloved to you, that needs an extra hand, an extra bit of support. And so I want to make a challenge to anyone and everyone listening. Today is Rosh Hashanah, and next week is Yom Kippur. By next week, by the start of Kol Nidre, send me an email. Send me an email with the subject line, yes. Seemed easier than nachon. The subject line, yes, and please share this with your friends and family. Send me an email of something in your life that you would like to make nachon, correct. Identify a place or a person or a cause that is lo nachon, as the Bible says. Something ve'ein nachon, where there is without correctness. And let me know how you're going to correct it. It could be as small as a tiny donation to a cause that you care for, a call you're going to make to a friend, something you're going to work on for yourself. It can be one word, it can be 10. Just a brief email of something to which you will say yes this year. And then on Kol Nidre evening, I'm going to read them. No names, I promise, absolutely anonymous. And they will become part of our collective writings in the book of life. It will be a book of affirmation, a book in which we have each written our own unique signature. And in taking from the messages of our Torah, let us do everything we can to make good on those promises. Maybe it's even a pint of blood. I know they're small things, or they'll seem like it, but we are reminded again and again, and most especially in the Babylonian Talmud tractate Sanhedrin, page 37a, when we save a life, we are saving the world. What is one life, one way that we can save a piece of this beautiful earth and say yes to the new year? My friends, I lay on that gurney counting my blessings. I was imagining a person somewhere on a similar gurney, absolutely not of their own choosing. Someone I do not and will never know, which last I looked was all red. I might have nothing else in common with that person except the color of that blood and the fact that we are all part of the human race. What would this little pint of blood mean to them, I wondered? Maybe the difference between another chance at life and death. I know it's small, but in my case, oh, what a positive thing it felt like to do. And lo and behold, I'm eligible to give again. I got an email last week that my turn has come, and I put it on my calendar for this weekend. The day after will mark the passing of an entire generation of years since 9/11. May our little donations be part of the great gifts and celebrations of life. Please let me know what it is that you say yes to this year. Let's have our promises add up to beautiful and great nachon, beautiful and great good. Shana Tova.